At Harvard, students literally worship a statue's toe for luck, but that's not even close to the weirdest thing happening on American campuses. What I discovered at College Hash 47 actually made me question if higher education has completely lost its mind. Every semester at Harvard, something wild happens right before finals week. Students throw open their dorm windows and just scream into the night air. We're talking pure, unfiltered stress relief here. It started back in the 1970s when some genius figured out that bottling up exam anxiety wasn't working too well. Now over 1,000 students participate each semester, usually at the stroke of midnight. The whole campus echoes with these primal screams. Imagine walking through Harvard Yard and suddenly hearing this chorus of academic frustration piercing the darkness. It's become such a beloved tradition that even the administration has given up trying to stop it. Makes sense, right? Sometimes you just need to let it all out. 2. Every semester at the University of Pennsylvania, something bizarre happens during the third quarter of football games. Fans reach into bags and pull out slices of bread. Then they hurl them onto the field like confetti. Over 20,000 pieces of toast fly through the air each season, creating a carbohydrate blizzard that requires an entire cleanup crew. The tradition started in the 1970s, inspired by lyrics from a campus song. Stadium workers now budget extra time between quarters just to clear the bread from the turf. What makes this even stranger? The toast isn't stale leftovers from the dining hall. Students actually buy fresh bread specifically for throwing. Some fans even butter their slices before tossing them, though that's generally frowned upon by stadium maintenance. The ritual has become so embedded in Penn culture that opposing teams' fans often join in despite not knowing the song that started it all. 3. Thousands of Texas A&M students gather in the dead of night, voices echoing across campus like some ancient ritual. This isn't a protest or emergency meeting, it's midnight yell practice, where student leaders called yell leaders teach the crowd specialized cheers for tomorrow's football game. The tradition dates back to 1931, making it one of the oldest continuous yell practices in college sports. What started as a simple pep rally has evolved into something much bigger. Students pack into Kyle Field or nearby Rudder Plaza, depending on the season. The energy is electric. Yell leaders, dressed in all-white uniforms, guide tens of thousands through intricate hand motions and synchronized chants. These aren't your typical rah-rah cheers either. Each yell has specific movements, timing, and meaning. Some involve complex arm patterns that look like sign language mixed with choreography. The crowd responds with military precision, creating a thunderous wall of sound that can be heard for miles. Faculty members often join in, proving that school spirit knows no age limit. Then there's the bonfire connection. Before the tragic 1999 accident, Midnight Yell was directly tied to the massive bonfire tradition. Now it stands alone, but carries that same intense energy. Alumni fly in from across the country just to participate. Hotel rooms in College Station book up months in advance for big games like Texas or LSU. The economic impact is huge, but that's not why people come. They come for the connection, the belonging, the chance to be part of something bigger than themselves. 4. Every midnight before finals at Berkeley, thousands of broke college students climb a hill behind the football stadium. They're not there for the view. This is Tightwad Hill, where you can watch games for free since 1923. Alumni who once scraped together lunch money now return with their kids, proving some traditions outlast student debt. The hillside gets packed with blankets, snacks, and people who'd rather spend $20 on beer than tickets. Stadium security gave up trying to stop them decades ago. Why fight when you're creating lifelong fans? 5. Harvard students have figured out the perfect way to deal with pre-exam stress. They scream. Not just a quiet yelp, but full-blown window-rattling screams that echo across campus at midnight before finals week. Over 1,000 students participate each semester, turning their dorms into a symphony of academic anxiety. This tradition started back in the 1970s when some brilliant student realized that bottling up stress wasn't working. Now it's become Harvard's most honest tradition. The screaming lasts just a few minutes, but the relief that carries students through their toughest exams. 6. Every semester at Carleton College, students wake up to find Friedrich Schiller staring at them from unexpected places. The bronze bust of the German poet has been spotted at graduation ceremonies, tucked behind library desks, and even riding shotgun in student cars. Nobody knows who moves him next. This isn't vandalism or theft, it's tradition. The bust weighs about 15 pounds and stands roughly a foot tall. Students have been secretly passing Schiller around campus since 1957, making him one of the longest-running pranks in college history. The rules are simple. Grab Schiller when you find him, keep him for a while, then place him somewhere new for others to discover. Well, that's assuming you can lift him without getting caught. But here's the weird part. Nobody really knows why it started with Schiller specifically. The German playwright died in 1805, way before anyone at Carleton was even born. Some say a literature professor left the bust behind decades ago. Others claim it was a graduation gift that got out of hand. What makes this tradition special isn't just the mystery of Schiller's next location. It's watching new students discover the game for the first time. Freshmen spot the bronze head peeking out from bushes or sitting in dining halls and think someone made a mistake. Then upperclassmen explain the rules, and suddenly these newcomers become part of something bigger than themselves. The administration has mostly given up trying to control Schiller's movements. Makes sense, right? How do you regulate a tradition that relies entirely on spontaneity and student creativity? Campus security has found him in locked buildings, on rooftops, and once famously zip-tied to a campus statue during homecoming weekend. Students have created elaborate schemes to transport Schiller across campus undetected. Some hide him in laundry bags or backpacks. Others coordinate group movements to create distractions while someone relocates the bust. The most dedicated participants even document his appearances on social media, creating an unofficial map of Schiller sightings throughout the year. And the tradition keeps evolving. Recent graduates return to campus and ask current students about Schiller's whereabouts, creating connections between different generations of Carleton alumni. 7. MIT students don't just pull pranks, mates. They engineer masterpieces that boggle the mind. These aren't your typical college shenanigans. We're talking about turning the Great Dome into a giant R2-D2 replica, complete with blinking lights and authentic sounds, or somehow getting a full-sized police car onto the top of a building dome without anyone noticing until morning. The administration doesn't just tolerate these elaborate stunts, they celebrate them as displays of pure genius-level creativity and problem-solving skills that showcase exactly what makes MIT students special. Eat. Texas Tech fans have turned tortilla throwing into an art form. Right after kickoff at home games, thousands of flour discs go flying onto the field like edible frisbees. Nobody really knows how this started in the early 1990s. One day, students just decided tortillas belonged on football fields, apparently. Stadium workers scramble around with push brooms, collecting soggy tortillas while players warm up. The cleanup crew has gotten pretty efficient at tortilla removal over the years. Makes you wonder what other food items could become sporting traditions. But there's something beautifully absurd about a crowd of college students armed with Mexican flatbread, united in their commitment to pelting their own team's field with carbohydrates before every single home game starts. 9. When the fourth quarter starts at Camp Randall Stadium, something magical happens. The speakers blast Jump Around by House of Pain, and 80,000 people literally bounce in unison. The entire stadium shakes. We're talking about a structure that can handle tons of concrete and steel, yet it visibly moves when fans get going. Engineers have measured the vibrations, they're off the charts. The tradition started in the 1990s when someone in the athletics department thought it would pump up the crowd. They had no idea they were creating a seismic event. Players say the noise hits 110 decibels during peak jumping. That's louder than a chainsaw. The opposing teams, they just stand there watching thousands of red-clad fans create what looks like a human earthquake. 10. Every spring at Wellesley College, something magical happens that would make ancient Greeks proud. Seniors gather at the top of Tupelo Lane clutching wooden hoops, ready to roll them down the hill in a frantic race. The winner supposedly gets lifelong success and prosperity. Talk about high stakes for a simple hoop. This tradition started back in the late 1800s when women's education was still controversial. These pioneering female students created their own version of success rituals. The whole campus turns out to watch as dozens of seniors sprint alongside their rolling hoops, sometimes tripping spectacularly. Faculty members cheer from the sidelines like proud parents at a Little League game. The winner receives an ornate trophy and bragging rights that last forever. Well, at least until next year's race. 11. Columbia's library transforms into chaos every December when the marching band storms through during finals week. They're targeting organic chemistry students, specifically Payne's Orgo Night. Picture stressed pre-med students hunched over textbooks when suddenly tubas and drums explode around them. The band cracks jokes, plays fight songs, and generally disrupts everything. Students either love the stress relief or hate the interruption. But here's the thing. This tradition started in 1970 and keeps going strong. The band doesn't ask permission. They just show up, make noise, and leave. Some students actually time their study sessions around it now. The whole thing lasts maybe 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes become legendary campus folklore that gets passed down through generations. 12. Picture this. It's midnight at Emory University, and a skeleton in a top hat just canceled your 8 a.m. calculus class. Students cheer as Dooley struts across campus with absolute authority. Nobody questions the walking bones. They're too busy celebrating their unexpected freedom. The mystery runs deeper than anyone admits. Dooley's identity stays locked tighter than Fort Knox. Students spend months trying to crack the code. Who's behind that grinning skull? The administration won't tell. Faculty members play dumb when pressed for answers. Then there's the sheer audacity of it all. One student gets to dress up like Death and boss around an entire university for 24 hours. Professors actually listen when Dooley speaks. Classes get dismissed with a wave of his bony hand. Makes you wonder who really runs this place, right? The tradition stretches back over a century, making it older than most buildings on campus. Dooley has survived world wars, economic crashes, and countless administrative changes. Through it all, the skeleton keeps showing up like clockwork. Some say he represents the university's rebellious spirit. Others think he's just an excuse to skip organic chemistry. But here's the weird part. Nobody ever gets caught. Year after year, different students take on the role, and their identities remain secret forever. Alumni take their Dooley knowledge to the grave. It's like some kind of academic witness protection program, but with more bones and fewer federal agents involved in the process. 13. Murray State University has one of the most romantic traditions in college history, and it involves hammering footwear into a tree trunk. The shoe tree started around 1965 when couples began nailing their shoes to a campus oak tree to mark special anniversaries. Each pair gets tagged with meaningful dates. Some adventurous couples return years later to add tiny baby shoes after marriage, creating a timeline of their relationship literally carved into bark. The original tree has been replaced 3 times due to severe storms, but students always find a new oak to continue the tradition. What makes this particularly sweet? Alumni often bring their grown children back to show them the exact spot where mom and dad's sneakers once hung, sharing stories of young love that began decades ago. 14. Every spring at Swarthmore College, students grab foam bats and hunt pterodactyls across campus. No, really, the Sci-Fi Club organizes this elaborate role-playing event where dinosaurs terrorize the grounds after dark. Students battle mythical creatures while dodging between dorm buildings and academic halls. It's pure chaos. The tradition spans over 3 decades now, offering stressed students a bizarre break from their rigorous coursework. Participants take it seriously too, developing battle strategies and forming hunting parties. Some even craft elaborate costumes and backstories for their characters. The campus transforms into a prehistoric battlefield where logic takes a backseat to imagination. 15. Every semester at Smith College, something magical happens after finals weekends. Students gather outside their dorms, take a deep breath, and unleash the most primal sound known to academia. A collective scream that could wake the dead. This isn't just any ordinary yell, it's the big scream. A tradition that started in the 1970s when stressed-out students needed a way to release all that pent-up exam anxiety. The beauty of this ritual lies in its simplicity. No complicated rules, no fancy equipment, just pure vocal catharsis. Staff members often join in too, because let's face it, they've been dealing with cranky students for weeks. The whole event lasts only a few minutes, but those few minutes pack enough emotional release to power a small city. Makes sense, right? 16. Yale students have been rubbing the toe of Theodore Dwight Woolsey's bronze statue since 1896, believing it brings good luck before exams. The toe gleams from decades of desperate touches. But here's the disgusting twist. Rumors persist that some students urinate on the statue for extra fortune. The statue commemorates Yale's 13th president, who served from 1846 to 1871. Originally, the toe rubbing started as a rowing team superstition before the Harvard-Yale regatta. Victory seemed to follow the ritual, so word spread across campus like wildfire. Now thousands of anxious students make the pilgrimage each semester. The bronze has worn smooth from countless nervous palms and fingertips. Campus maintenance crews regularly clean the statue, though they won't confirm what exactly they're washing off. Some students swear the toe-touching works, citing improved test scores and better job prospects. Others dismiss it as pure coincidence wrapped in collegiate mythology. Either way, the tradition refuses to die, proving that desperation makes believers of us all. 17. Every Halloween night at Georgetown University, students gather around the iconic Healy Hall at the stroke of midnight. They're not there for a party or protest, they're there to howl, like actual wolves. The tradition started in the 1970s after The Exorcist was filmed on campus, using Healy Hall as a key location. Students began howling at the building where some of the movie's most terrifying scenes were shot. What started as a few film buffs making spooky sounds has grown into hundreds of students creating an eerie chorus that echoes across the entire campus. The howling lasts about 10 minutes, but you can hear it from blocks away. Faculty members have been known to join in, though they usually howl from their office windows rather than brave the crowd below. 18. Every spring at Dartmouth College, something magical happens that transforms the entire campus into one giant celebration. Green Key isn't just another college festival, it's a century-old tradition that brings together thousands of students, alumni, and locals for what many consider the best weekend of the year. The timing couldn't be more perfect. After surviving another brutal New England winter, students emerge from their hibernation, ready to party like there's no tomorrow. Green Key marks the official end of the winter term, and frankly, everyone's desperate for some sunshine and fun. The festival gets its name from the green keys that were once given to graduating seniors, though nowadays it's more about building memories than collecting souvenirs. But here's where things get interesting. Students don't just attend Green Key, they literally construct it from scratch. Every year, different student groups compete to build the most elaborate outdoor structures you can imagine. We're talking full-scale stages, dance floors, and party pavilions that would make professional event planners jealous. The campus transforms into a temporary city of wooden platforms and decorative masterpieces. The construction process is half the fun. Students spend weeks planning and building, often working late into the night with power tools and determination. Some structures are architectural marvels, while others barely stand upright, but that's part of the charm. The whole thing feels like summer camp for college students, except with better music and more school spirit. Then there's the community aspect that makes Green Key special. Unlike many college events that stay confined to campus, this festival welcomes the entire Hanover community. Local families show up with their kids, alumni return to relive their glory days, and even the college president gets in on the action. It's one of those rare moments when town and gown truly come together. The music lineup varies each year, but it's always designed to get people moving. From indie rock bands to DJ sets that keep the party going until sunrise, Green Key delivers something for every musical taste. Students dance on the handmade stages they've spent weeks perfecting, creating this incredible feedback loop of pride and celebration. Food vendors line the campus paths, offering everything from classic festival fare to local New Hampshire specialties. The smell of grilled burgers mixes with the sound of live music and laughter, creating this sensory overload that screams college at its finest. Some students claim the food tastes better during Green Key, though that might just be the festival atmosphere talking. What really sets this tradition apart is how it bridges generations. Alumni who attended Green Key decades ago return with their own families, sharing stories about their college days while watching current students create new memories. The festival becomes this living timeline of Dartmouth history, where past and present collide in the most beautiful way possible. 19. Every February in New Orleans, Tulane students gather for one of the messiest traditions in college history. King cakes fly through the air like sugary missiles. These aren't your typical pastries either. Each cake hides a tiny plastic baby inside, and whoever catches the cake with the baby becomes the next thrower. The tradition connects directly to the city's Mardi Gras roots, where king cakes symbolize celebration and community. But here's where it gets interesting. Students don't just toss random cakes, they actually plan elaborate throwing strategies, almost like a sweet version of dodgeball. Some students duck behind trees, others form human shields. The whole campus turns into a battlefield of frosting and dough. And that plastic baby? It's not just decoration. Finding it means you're hosting the next cake toss, complete with purchasing duties and cleanup responsibilities. The tradition happens exclusively in February, timed perfectly with Mardi Gras season when the entire city buzzes with carnival energy. 20. Every December and May at Harvard, something magical happens at exactly midnight. Students throw open their dorm windows and let out the most primal, guttural screams you've ever heard. It's not a horror movie scene, it's finals week, and this is how over 1,000 brilliant minds cope with academic pressure. The tradition started in the 1970s when some stressed-out student decided shouting into the night was better than crying into textbooks. Smart move, honestly. Now it's become this massive stress relief ritual that echoes across Harvard Yard like some ancient battle cry. The sound carries for blocks, probably confusing tourists who think Cambridge is under attack. What makes it even better? Faculty members have been known to join in from their own windows. Picture your intimidating organic chemistry professor screaming alongside freshmen who just realized they have 3 papers due tomorrow. The whole thing lasts maybe 2 minutes, but those 2 minutes release semesters' worth of academic anxiety. Then everyone goes back to studying like nothing happened, feeling mysteriously lighter. 21. Every spring at the University of Michigan, something absolutely wild happens during finals week. Students strip down completely naked and sprint across campus in what's called the Naked Mile. This isn't just a few brave souls either. Hundreds of students participate annually, turning the usually quiet study atmosphere into pure chaos. The tradition started back in the mid-1980s when stressed-out students decided regular stress relief wasn't cutting it anymore. Running naked through campus somehow became their answer to exam anxiety. The university administration has tried repeatedly to shut down this nude marathon, but supporters keep bringing it back. They claim the naked dash provides the ultimate stress relief before tackling those brutal final exams. Makes sense, right? Nothing says forget about organic chemistry like streaking past the library at full speed. 22. Most college football rivalries are measured in decades. The Tommy-Johnny game between St. Thomas and St. John's has been going strong for over a century. These 2 Minnesota schools face off every fall in what's become the most attended small college football game in America. The rivalry runs so deep that entire families plan their year around it. What makes this game special isn't just the football, it's the chicken dance contest that breaks out in the stands. Yes, you read that right. Thousands of fans flapping their arms like poultry during timeouts. The winning side gets bragging rights until next year's game. Alumni fly in from across the country just to participate in the dance-off. The atmosphere is electric when 15,000 people pack into whatever stadium is hosting that year. St. Paul becomes the unofficial capital of small college football for one weekend. Local hotels book up months in advance, restaurants run out of food, traffic cops work overtime directing the parade of cars streaming toward the stadium. But here's the thing about tradition. It creates its own momentum. Grandparents who attended these schools bring their grandchildren, former players return as coaches, the chicken dance gets passed down like a family recipe. What started as a simple football game has become something much bigger than sports. 23. Stanford students have discovered the perfect way to celebrate surviving finals week. They jump into campus fountains at night, often wearing pajamas or ridiculous costumes. The university actually cleans the fountains beforehand, knowing what's coming. Faculty members occasionally join the chaos, proving that even professors need to blow off steam. Some students coordinate themed jumps, like superhero costumes or formal wear. The tradition happens spontaneously after the last exam, with word spreading quickly through dorms. Campus security turns a blind eye, understanding that stressed students need this release. The fountains become temporary pools of celebration, filled with laughter and relief. Water temperature doesn't matter when you've just finished organic chemistry. 24. Picture this chaos. Hundreds of University of Connecticut students willingly diving into knee-deep mud to play volleyball. Welcome to Oozball, where pristine athletic skills meet absolute filth. Started back in 1984, this annual tournament transforms ordinary volleyball into something resembling a medieval mud wrestling match. The rules? Well, there really aren't many. Teams slip, slide, and somehow manage to keep a volleyball airborne while completely covered in muck. Players emerge looking like swamp creatures, grinning from ear to ear. The messier you get, the better you're doing it right. And here's the kicker. It's not just for varsity athletes. Anyone brave enough to sacrifice their dignity can sign up. Then there's the charitable angle that makes this mudfest even better. All that sliding around in the dirt actually raises money for local charities. Students pay entry fees, spectators donate, and local businesses sponsor teams. The dirtier everyone gets, the more money flows to good causes. Makes sense, right? The aftermath requires industrial-strength cleanup crews and probably several washing machines working overtime, but participants swear the experience bonds teammates like nothing else can. Nothing says friendship quite like pulling your buddy out of a mud pit during a volleyball serve. 25. Every March 17th, you Chicago students grab buckets of eco-friendly dye and turn the Chicago River into an emerald masterpiece. The tradition started over 4 decades ago when ambitious students decided St. Patrick's Day needed more pizzazz. What began as a small group effort now involves hundreds of participants. The bright green water stays vibrant for days, creating Instagram-worthy shots that flood social media. Staff members supervise to ensure safety protocols are followed. The dye is completely biodegradable, so fish don't end up looking like tiny leprechauns. Local news crews show up every year to capture the spectacle. Students often coordinate the timing with Chicago's official river dyeing downtown. It's become such a beloved ritual that alumni fly back just to participate. 26. Holy Cross seniors take commitment seriously. The 99 Days Club requires members to eat breakfast together for 99 consecutive days before graduation. Miss even one meal? You're out. Started in 1990, this tradition transforms the dining hall into a second home each spring semester. Students drag themselves out of bed, nursing hangovers and cramming sessions just to maintain their streak. Some set multiple alarms, others bribe roommates to wake them up. The pressure builds as graduation approaches. What began as casual morning gatherings becomes intense social bonding. Students form study groups over scrambled eggs and bacon. They share job interview stories between bites of toast. The dining hall staff knows every regular by name, cooking extra portions for the dedicated few who never miss a day. But here's the thing about traditions built on perfect attendance: they create their own mythology. Alumni return years later, still bragging about completing the full 99 days. They wear it like a badge of honor, proof they could stick with something difficult when it mattered most. The breakfast itself becomes secondary to the achievement of showing up consistently. Current members treat dropouts with mock disappointment, but everyone understands. College life throws curveballs. Finals week hits hard, internships demand early mornings, and sometimes sleep wins over solidarity. Yet those who persevere find something unexpected in those pre-dawn gatherings. A daily reminder that small commitments can create lasting connections. 27. Picture this: it's midnight at Alfred University, and suddenly the campus erupts in flames. Well, not literally. Students gather around massive bonfires before major exams, creating a spectacle visible for miles around the small New York town. The tradition supposedly started as a signal for everyone to buckle down and study. Now, it's basically become a pre-exam party with marshmallows and guitars. The fire department doesn't just tolerate this chaos, they actually supervise it. Safety crews stand by with hoses, while students toss everything from old textbooks to broken furniture into the roaring flames. The university even provides snacks and hot chocolate, turning what could be a dangerous situation into an organized stress relief event. Some students swear the ritual helps them focus better on their studies. Others just enjoy watching their failed chemistry notes go up in smoke. Either way, the Night of Fire has become such a beloved tradition that alumni often return just to watch the flames dance against the winter sky. 28. Picture this: a marching band member lights their sousaphone on fire during halftime. The crowd goes wild. Ohio State's flaming tuba tradition started by complete accident decades ago, but now it's the most anticipated moment of homecoming. Fire marshals carefully monitor the controlled blaze while 100,000 fans cheer. The spectacle draws alumni from across the country who remember their own college days. What began as an embarrassing mistake became legendary. The specially modified instrument burned safely for exactly 90 seconds before being extinguished. 29. Every spring at UT Austin, thousands of students transform into characters from Winnie the Pooh for what might be the most wholesome college party in America. Eeyore's birthday party started in 1963 when English professor Bob Abernathy decided the gloomy donkey deserved better than his fictional friends gave him. Students wear elaborate costumes, from full Tigger suits to homemade piglet ears. Free pancakes fuel the festivities, while bands perform on the campus lawn. The event draws families, alumni, and curious locals who stumble upon this bizarre celebration of childhood nostalgia mixed with college spirit. 30. Every year, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill witnesses something extraordinary. Their president literally runs through campus fountains at midnight. No, this isn't some bizarre hazing ritual or administrative breakdown. It's actually a beloved tradition that started after major sports victories. The whole thing began when students needed a way to celebrate big wins, and somehow the president got roped into becoming the star of the show. Picture thousands of students gathering in the dark, phones out, waiting for their university leader to sprint through ice-cold fountain water. Sometimes the president shows up in costume, which makes the whole spectacle even more ridiculous. The midnight timing adds this weird mystical quality to everything. Campus security has to block off areas just to manage the crowds who show up to witness this madness. What makes it even better is that the president genuinely seems to enjoy it. There's something beautifully absurd about watching a highly educated administrator splash through water while students cheer like they're at a rock concert. The tradition has become so popular that alumni plan visits around potential fountain runs, hoping to catch the action. 31. Rice University students have turned car pushing into an art form. Every spring semester, teams grab a regular car and push it around campus for 24 straight hours. No breaks, no shortcuts, just pure endurance. The winning group gets honored at a special ceremony, but honestly, everyone who survives deserves a medal. What started as an engineering challenge has become the ultimate test of teamwork and stubbornness. 32. Georgia Tech students have turned sign theft into an art form. Every year, groups plot elaborate heists to steal the giant T that stands proudly on campus. The administration fights back with security cameras and hefty fines for anyone caught red-handed. Some thieves get nabbed and pay hundreds in penalties, others escape into campus legend. The sign has been replaced twice since 1969, each time sparking new waves of would-be thieves. What makes this particularly brilliant? The engineering students treat it like a real-world problem-solving exercise. They study patrol patterns, design diversion tactics, and coordinate team movements. Getting caught almost feels like failing an unofficial exam. The T itself weighs several hundred pounds and requires serious planning to move. Yet students keep trying, viewing successful theft as the ultimate campus prank achievement. 33. Texas A&M's bonfire tradition wasn't just about burning wood. It was about building something massive together. Students spent months planning and constructing a towering wooden structure that could be seen from miles away. The community pitched in too. Volunteers from all walks of life showed up with hammers and nails. When game day arrived, they'd light it up in a spectacular blaze that symbolized their unity and fierce rivalry spirit. The flames danced against the night sky while thousands cheered. But in 1999, tragedy struck during construction. The bonfire collapsed, killing 12 people and injuring many others. The university ended the tradition immediately. Now they hold smaller tribute events instead, honoring both the victims and the spirit of what the bonfire once represented for the Aggie community. 34. Every February, Carleton College transforms into a winter wonderland of competitive chaos. Students bundle up in layers of thermal gear and dive headfirst into the Snow Olympics. This isn't your typical sledding down a gentle hill. We're talking full-contact snowball warfare, elaborate ice sculpture contests, and sleigh races that would make the Iditarod jealous. The event kicks off with teams forming alliances faster than you can say hypothermia. Some groups spend weeks planning their snow fortress designs, complete with strategic ammunition stockpiles. Others wing it entirely, showing up with nothing but enthusiasm and questionable winter gear. Faculty members volunteer as referees, though they're often the first casualties in surprise snowball ambushes. The sculpture competition gets particularly intense. Students have carved everything from life-sized replicas of campus buildings to abstract art that would confuse Picasso. One year, a team built a snow version of the college president that was so accurate, he posed for photos next to it. The winning sculpture stays on display until spring thaw claims it. But here's where things get really wild. The sleigh races involve homemade contraptions that range from engineering marvels to death traps on runners. Teams push the limits of physics and common sense, creating vehicles that would make Santa's workshop look like amateur hour. Since 1975, this February tradition has grown from a small dorm competition to a campus-wide spectacle. The prize for best snow creation isn't monetary, but the bragging rights last until graduation. Students who win become local legends, their names whispered in reverent tones during future Snow Olympics planning sessions. 35. Picture this. 37,000 screaming football fans suddenly thrust their arms forward in perfect unison, creating a massive set of chomping jaws. The Gator Chomp isn't just a cheer. It's a primal display of school pride that makes opposing teams genuinely nervous. Started in the 1980s when someone noticed how similar human arms looked to alligator mouths, this tradition has become so iconic that even the Jumbotron displays a giant digital chomp. Players join fans from the sidelines, creating a stadium-wide feeding frenzy that can be heard 3 blocks away. 36. Every week at the University of Oregon, a rubber duck goes into hiding somewhere on campus. Students hunt for clues posted online and on bulletin boards, desperately searching every corner. The lucky finder gets school merchandise as their prize. During finals week, someone in a full duck costume waddles around campus, adding extra chaos to an already stressful time. This quirky treasure hunt started in 2013 when student government decided regular campus life needed more adventure. Now hundreds of students spend their free time duck hunting instead of studying. 37. Every home football game at UT Austin kicks off with something spectacular. Bevo, the massive longhorn steer mascot, gets paraded around campus like royalty. Cheerleaders and the marching band lead this procession while students dress up as cowboys and cowgirls. The parade winds through campus before ending at a massive pep rally. It's actually the largest tradition parade in all of Texas, which says something in a state that loves its parades. The whole thing feels like stepping back into the Wild West, except everyone has smartphones and the cattle drive ends with nachos and school spirit instead of actual ranching. 38. At Oberlin College, spotting a rare albino squirrel means you're part of something special. The Squirrel Watching Society has over 300 members who track unusual squirrel sightings across campus. They post photos on social media and organize weekly squirrel spotting walks. The albino squirrel serves as their unofficial mascot, making ordinary campus strolls feel like wildlife expeditions. 39. Every spring at Grinnell College, chaos erupts when a massive red rubber ball appears on campus. Students drop everything and chase this oversized sphere across quads, through buildings, and over sidewalks. The ball often breaks mid-chase, sending rubber pieces flying everywhere while hundreds of students scramble after fragments. Winners get prizes, but honestly, everyone just wants to touch the legendary ball. The entire college joins this madness, creating one of the most ridiculous sights in higher education. Alumni return specifically for reunion weekend just to relive their ball-chasing glory days from decades past. 40. Every semester at NYU, something magical happens between the residence halls. Dorm Wars kicks off with students plotting elaborate pranks against rival buildings. Teams compete in trivia contests where knowing your roommate's middle name might win you points. Relay races snake through Washington Square Park while talent shows reveal hidden abilities. The winning dorm gets bragging rights and a shiny trophy that sits in their lobby for an entire year. What started in 1985 has grown into the most anticipated campus competition. Freshmen get their first taste of college rivalry while seniors perfect their final prank. The best part, administrators actually encourage the chaos, setting official rules for acceptable pranks. 41. St. Louis University students voluntarily kiss farm pigs to raise money for sick children. The tradition happens every spring, drawing hundreds of participants who dress up for photos. Staff brings a friendly pig from a local farm specifically for the event. Students post their pig-kissing pictures all over social media afterward. Over 20 years, this bizarre charity drive has raised thousands of dollars for the Children's Hospital. The pig seems to enjoy the attention too. 42. Every May at Colgate University, graduating seniors participate in one of the most elegant traditions in American higher education. The Serpentine Walk requires perfect coordination as hundreds of students weave through campus in a single snaking line. One misstep ruins everything. The tradition dates back to the 1800s, when Victorian-era students created this ceremonial procession to symbolize their transition from student life to adulthood. Alumni often return to join the final segment of the walk, creating a living bridge between past and present. The coordination needed is remarkable. Students must move in perfect harmony, maintaining the serpentine pattern while navigating around buildings, trees, and crowds of proud families. Faculty members position themselves along the route, ensuring the line stays intact. The walk culminates at the chapel steps, where the serpentine dissolves into applause and tears. What makes this tradition special isn't just its visual beauty, but its deeper meaning. Each graduate literally follows in the footsteps of thousands who came before them. It's a physical manifestation of academic legacy, connecting generations through a simple but profound act of collective movement. 43. Every spring at Vanderbilt University, hundreds of students grab water balloons and declare war on each other across campus. The largest recorded battle, over 2,500 balloons thrown in a single afternoon. Faculty members dodge flying projectiles while students charge across the quad like caffeinated warriors. The event happens outdoors when summer approaches, turning the normally peaceful campus into a splash zone battlefield. Students hide behind trees, benches, and buildings, launching surprise attacks on unsuspecting victims. While calling them victims might be harsh, since everyone signed up for this madness voluntarily. The tradition brings out everyone's inner child, with graduate students pelting freshmen and professors occasionally joining the chaos. Cleanup crews work overtime afterward, but nobody seems to mind the soggy aftermath. And the weird part is, they actually keep score and crown a victor through some mysterious photo finish system that nobody fully understands. 44. UC Davis takes campus traditions to a whole new level with their annual cow parade. Students spend weeks designing elaborate costumes for actual dairy cows before parading them across campus. We're talking full superhero outfits, princess dresses, and even disco balls. The Dairy Club sponsors this wild spectacle that's been running since 1939. The university president personally judges each bovine contestant, awarding prizes for creativity and crowd appeal. These aren't just any cows either. They're genuine dairy animals from the campus farm. Students get surprisingly competitive about their cow's costume design. Some outfits cost hundreds of dollars and require engineering skills to properly fit a 200-pound animal. The cows seem to enjoy the attention, munching grass while wearing tutus or cape and mask combinations. Local news crews show up every year to capture the absurdity. 45. Math nerds have their own version of Christmas morning. At Williams College, the mathematics department throws a campus-wide party every time mathematicians discover a new prime number. Students wake up to happy prime cards slipped under dorm doors. Free cupcakes appear in the dining hall with prime numbers frosted on top. The department distributes brain-bending puzzles that would make most people's heads spin. Faculty members wear shirts with their favorite prime equations printed across the front. What makes this even more ridiculous? Prime number discoveries don't happen on a schedule. Sometimes students get 3 celebrations in one semester. Other years, they wait months for the next mathematical breakthrough. The anticipation builds like waiting for snow days, except instead of watching weather forecasts, students obsessively check mathematical journals and research publications. 46. Boston College students have perfected the art of combining fashion disasters with fountain diving. Every spring, when finals wrap up, hundreds gather wearing the ugliest sweaters they can find. We're talking reindeer with googly eyes, cats playing poker, and geometric patterns that could trigger seizures. The staff judges which sweater makes people cringe the most. The fountain splash isn't just about getting wet. It's about timing your leap perfectly while wearing wool that weighs 30 pounds when soaked. Students have discovered sweaters dating back to 1968, probably pulled from grandparents' closets. The oldest one looked like it survived both Woodstock and several washing machine disasters. After the judging and splashing chaos ends, something beautiful happens. All those hideous sweaters get donated to local charities. Turns out even the world's ugliest Christmas sweater can keep someone warm. Makes you wonder if those reindeer with crossed eyes were meant for something greater all along. 47. Every spring at MIT, students gather around Baker House for one of the strangest traditions in higher education. They drop a piano from the roof. Not just any piano, a full upright piano that crashes down several stories onto the pavement below. The goal? making it play a note on impact. Engineering students started this bizarre ritual back in 1972. They weren't just being destructive for fun. Well, maybe a little. The challenge was figuring out how to make the piano actually produce a musical sound when it hit the ground. Some years they succeed, creating a thunderous chord that echoes across campus. The logistics are insane. Students have to haul a heavy piano up multiple flights of stairs to reach the roof. Then they position it carefully at the edge, calculating wind resistance and trajectory. Safety crews block off the area below because nobody wants to get crushed by flying piano keys. Hundreds of students show up to witness this controlled chaos. The crowd counts down like it's New Year's Eve. 3, 2, 1, crash. Wood splinters everywhere. Keys scatter across the concrete. Sometimes you get that perfect musical note. Other times, it's just an expensive mess. But here's the genius part. They sell the broken pieces as souvenirs afterward. Students actually pay money for chunks of destroyed piano. Those fragments become conversation pieces in dorm rooms. Oh, it's from the 1987 piano drop when we got a perfect B flat. The tradition almost got banned several times. Administrators worried about liability and noise complaints. But students fought to keep it alive because it represents everything MIT stands for. Creative problem solving, calculated risk-taking, making something beautiful out of destruction. Faculty members have been known to place bets on whether the piano will produce an actual note. Music professors get especially invested, arguing about pitch and resonance. Physics students run calculations on impact velocity and sound wave propagation. The whole event lasts maybe 10 seconds from drop to crash, but the anticipation builds for weeks beforehand. Students debate which piano model will work best. They study previous year's footage like it's game film. Some even compose songs specifically for the piano to play when it hits. What makes this tradition perfect is its complete absurdity. In a world of standardized tests and career anxiety, sometimes you just need to drop a piano off a building. It serves no practical purpose. It doesn't improve anyone's GPA. It's pure, beautiful chaos that brings the entire campus together for one ridiculous moment. 48. Every spring at the University of Oregon, students gather for what might be the most ridiculous competition in college history. The Quack-Off isn't your typical talent show. It's a duck-calling contest that draws thousands of participants who sound like they're having heated arguments with actual waterfowl. The winner doesn't just get bragging rights. They receive a year's supply of rubber duckies, which raises some serious questions about storage space in dorm rooms. A local radio DJ serves as the official judge, probably questioning his career choices as he listens to hundreds of students making increasingly desperate quacking sounds. What started in 1990 as a small joke has evolved into something much weirder. The university actually records all the quacks for posterity, creating what must be the world's strangest audio archive. Students practice for weeks, developing their own unique quacking styles and techniques. The competition gets surprisingly intense. Some participants bring props, others develop elaborate backstories for their duck personas. The crowd cheers loudest for the most authentic-sounding calls, though nobody seems quite sure what authentic means in this context. But here's the thing that makes it truly Oregon. The event perfectly captures the school's embrace of the absurd while celebrating their duck mascot in the most literal way possible. 49. Northwestern University has a massive boulder sitting right in the middle of campus. Students paint it constantly with announcements, declarations of love, and random messages. But here's the catch, you can only paint it at night. Security guards actually monitor this rock around the clock to make sure nobody breaks the sacred midnight rule. The paint layers are so thick they've been building up since 1941. Some estimates say there are thousands of coats stacked on top of each other. It's like geological history, but with terrible art and inside jokes nobody remembers anymore. Getting to paint the rock is considered a rite of passage for Northwestern students. The competition is fierce because everyone wants their message to be the one people see during daylight hours, well, until someone else paints over it the next night. 50. Every semester at Bowdoin College in Maine, students gather on the Rocky Coast for what might be the most masochistic tradition in higher education. The polar bear plunge happens in February when the Atlantic Ocean hovers around a bone-chilling 40 degrees Fahrenheit. But here's the thing. Hundreds of students still strip down and sprint into those icy waters like it's summer vacation. The whole event started as a fundraiser for local charities, which makes the freezing torture slightly more noble. Safety teams monitor every jump because hypothermia isn't exactly a joke when you're dealing with water that cold. Well, unless you count the jokes students tell through chattering teeth afterward. Then there's the hot cocoa station that becomes the most popular spot on campus immediately after the plunge. Students emerge from the water looking like they've seen ghosts, or maybe become ghosts themselves. The tradition draws participants who range from brave freshmen trying to prove themselves to seniors who've made it their final college hurrah. Faculty members occasionally join in, though they tend to be the ones who grew up in Maine and think 40-degree water is practically tropical. What makes this whole thing even more ridiculous? The students actually look forward to it every year. They train for it. Some even organize group jumps with their entire dorm floor or sports team. The anticipation builds for weeks, and by the time February rolls around, the sign-up sheets are completely full. The aftermath is just as entertaining as the main event. Students spend hours comparing their experiences, sharing photos of their blue-tinged skin, and debating who stayed in the longest. Makes sense, right? When you voluntarily subject yourself to near-freezing water, you might as well get some bragging rights out of it. 51. Every morning at sunrise, Iowa State's campus awakens to something most universities would consider noise pollution. The Tuba March begins at 6 a.m. sharp. 6 tubas started this tradition back in 1967, but now dozens of brass instruments create a thunderous wake-up call that echoes across dormitories and academic buildings. The marchers don't just play music, they wear elaborate costumes that change with the seasons. Halloween brings zombies with tubas. Christmas features Santa suits and elf hats. Spring break means Hawaiian shirts and leis draped over massive brass instruments. The visual spectacle rivals the audio assault. Faculty members occasionally join the parade, though they usually stick to smaller instruments like trumpets or trombones. The sight of a chemistry professor in pajamas carrying a tuba became legendary after photos went viral on social media. Students now actively recruit professors for the march. What makes this tradition particularly Iowa is its agricultural timing. The march coincides with sunrise because that's when farmers traditionally started their day. It's a nod to the university's roots in agricultural education, though most participants probably don't realize they're honoring farming heritage while they blast their way across campus in superhero costumes. The route changes monthly to ensure every corner of campus gets the full experience. No dormitory escapes the morning brass bombardment. Even the library gets serenaded, much to the dismay of students pulling all-nighters. But here's the weird part. Complaints are rare because the tradition has become a source of genuine pride for the university community. 52. Cornell's campus holds one of the most romantic traditions in American higher education. Student couples walk through a specific tunnel for good luck in their relationships. The tunnel walls are completely covered in graffiti from decades of love-struck students. Built back in the 1920s, this underground passage has become a pilgrimage site for romance. The university repaints the tunnel walls yearly, but only after the traditional walk season ends. Couples post their tunnel selfies online, creating a digital archive of campus love stories. The graffiti ranges from simple initials to elaborate marriage proposals. Some alumni return years later to show their children where they first walked together. The tunnel stays busy during Valentine's Week when hundreds of couples make the journey. Dating back nearly a century, this tradition connects current students with generations of Cornell romantics who walked the same path. 53. Stanford students have turned midnight soccer into an art form. Every Friday night, players gather on the main quad with glow-in-the-dark soccer balls. The tradition started after a campus-wide power outage in 2005 left students bored and restless. Now it's become the most anticipated weekly event on campus. Teams get chosen through a lottery system that somehow makes everyone feel like they're part of something special. The university provides midnight snacks and hot chocolate to keep energy levels high. What makes this even better? Faculty members occasionally join in, though they're usually the first ones huffing and puffing after 10 minutes of play. The glowing balls create an almost magical atmosphere across the historic quad, turning a simple game into something that looks like a scene from a sci-fi movie. 54. Every Halloween at Washington and Lee University, something magical happens in the campus woods. Students dress up as ghosts and run through the darkness like they're escaping from a horror movie. The tradition started back in 1981 when some creative students decided regular Halloween parties were too boring. Now faculty members lead these ghostly runners through winding forest paths. Prizes go to whoever has the spookiest costume, and trust me, some of these outfits would make professional movie studios jealous. The whole thing feels like a cross between a 5K race and a haunted house experience. What makes it even better? The run happens right when autumn leaves are falling, so you're literally running through nature's own spooky decorations. Some students spend weeks perfecting their ghost costumes, adding chains that rattle or fabric that glows in the dark. 55. Iowa students have figured out the perfect way to combine Thanksgiving prep with athletic competition. Every fall, they gather on the football field, armed with frozen turkeys, ready to launch them as far as humanly possible. The winner walks away with grocery store gift cards, while everyone else just gets cold hands and sore arms from hurling rock-solid poultry. The logistics alone are pretty wild. Students must wear safety gear because apparently frozen turkey projectiles can cause serious damage. Makes sense when you think about it. These aren't your average dinner rolls we're talking about. The turkeys weigh anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds, and launching them requires serious technique. But here's the brilliant part. After all the competitive flinging is done, those same turkeys get donated to local food banks. So what started as students chucking frozen birds across a field actually ends up feeding families in need. The event organizers coordinate with shelters and community kitchens to make sure nothing goes to waste. The whole thing started as a stress relief activity during finals week. Someone apparently thought, you know what would make studying for organic chemistry better? Throwing large frozen objects as hard as possible, and honestly, they weren't wrong. There's something deeply satisfying about the primal act of hurling a turkey and watching it sail through the crisp November air before landing with a solid thud on the turf. 56. Students at Ohio University have turned superstition into an art form. Every exam season, they gather on the campus bridge clutching handfuls of pennies. The ritual is simple but profound. Drop your penny, make your wish, hope for academic salvation. In 2011, someone counted 7,500 pennies hitting the riverbed below. That's a lot of desperate prayers wrapped in copper. The university cleans up afterward, but some pennies stay embedded in the mud. Future students find them years later, wondering whose failed calculus exam those coins were meant to save. Well, the optimists believe those leftover pennies still carry luck. Makes sense, right? 57. Picture thousands of college students decorating lawn mowers like parade floats. That's exactly what happens every spring at Kansas State University. Students transform ordinary grass-cutting machines into rolling works of art, complete with streamers, paint jobs, and sometimes entire themed displays. The tradition started decades ago when engineering students needed a creative outlet. The rules are surprisingly simple. Any lawnmower works, from ancient push models to modern riding beasts. Students have shown up with mowers from the 1950s that barely run but look absolutely magnificent, covered in glitter and fake flowers. Faculty members serve as judges, which creates hilarious moments when professors seriously debate the artistic merit of a hot pink riding mower shaped like a flamingo. But here's the weird part. This isn't just about decoration. The parade actually celebrates the start of spring semester and Kansas's agricultural heritage. Makes sense, right? Students compete fiercely for the trophy, with some teams spending weeks planning their designs. The winning mower gets displayed in the student union for the entire year, becoming a campus landmark that freshmen use for directions. 58. Michigan State students have turned tunnel painting into an underground art revolution. Every semester, they grab flashlights and head into the half-mile tunnel system beneath campus. The rules are simple: paint only at night and make it count. Over 40 years of midnight creativity has built up paint layers measuring over 1 inch thick. The oldest visible message dates back to 1982, somehow surviving thousands of painting sessions. Students consider access to these tunnels a sacred privilege, passed down through generations of night owls and artists. What started as random graffiti became something bigger. The tunnel walls tell stories of heartbreak, celebration, political protests, and inside jokes that only Spartans understand. Some students spend entire nights crafting elaborate murals, while others quickly tag their names before security rounds. The paint fumes mix with decades of artistic ambition, creating an underground gallery that most universities would ban immediately. 59. Rice University students spend months hunting for plastic owls hidden around campus. The person who finds one gets to keep it for an entire semester. It's like Easter egg hunting, but with more strategy and way less chocolate. Hints get posted in the campus newspaper, turning every Rice student into a detective. Parents even join the hunt on Family Day, crawling under benches and checking behind statues. Started by an alumni group back in 1974, this tradition has students examining every corner of campus. The owls aren't just randomly tossed around either. Organizers get creative with hiding spots, sometimes placing them in plain sight where thousands walk by daily. Other times they're tucked away in the most ridiculous locations you'd never think to check. Well, the hunt creates this weird campus-wide paranoia, where everyone's constantly scanning their surroundings. Students have been known to sprint across quads after spotting what might be an owl. Makes sense, right? Who wouldn't want bragging rights for an entire semester? 60 Battle of the Bands at Arizona State isn't your typical talent show. Every week, student bands duke it out for musical supremacy on campus. The stakes? Winner becomes the official house band for an entire semester. Faculty members judge these weekly showdowns, which means your economics professor might be critiquing your guitar solos. The concerts are open to all students, and the record attendance hit 4,900 people. That's more than some professional venues. These aren't garage bands either. Many winners have gone on to sign actual record deals. The competition gets fierce during finals week when stressed students need live music most. 61. Buffalo statues get makeovers before every major game at the University of Colorado Boulder. Students armed with brushes and paint cans transform their beloved mascot into a colorful masterpiece. The tradition changes themes annually, sometimes patriotic red, white, and blue, other times wild neon colors that would make a disco ball jealous. The statue has accumulated 47 layers of paint since 2018, creating an archaeological timeline of school spirit. Each coat tells a story of victories, defeats, and the relentless optimism of college students who believe this time will be different. The buffalo looks less like an animal and more like an abstract art project gone wonderfully wrong. Students gather around chanting the mascot's name while wielding paintbrushes like weapons of mass decoration. The ritual brings together everyone from sorority girls in designer workout clothes to engineering students who finally found a practical application for their precision skills. Paint splatters everywhere except where it's supposed to go. But here's the weird part. After each season ends, maintenance crews pressure wash the entire statue clean. All those layers of memories disappear in a few hours, preparing for next year's artistic chaos. Makes sense, right? Well, not really, but that's college traditions for you. 62. Picture thousands of pounds of ripe tomatoes flying through the air like edible missiles. That's exactly what happens at Pomona College's legendary Tomato War. Students divide into opposing armies, don colorful themed costumes, and launch into botanical battle using over 1,000 pounds of fresh tomatoes grown right in the campus garden. The winning team receives the coveted Golden Tomato Trophy. But here's the brilliant part. These aren't store-bought projectiles. The college actually cultivates these weapons of mass deliciousness in their own soil. Students spend months nurturing the very ammunition they'll eventually hurl at their classmates. Makes sense, right? Why waste money on tomatoes when you can grow your own arsenal? The aftermath looks like a massive marinara sauce explosion, with red-stained warriors celebrating their vegetable victory while custodial crews wonder what they signed up for. 63. Every spring at UC Santa Barbara, something magical happens that makes you forget about final stress for a hot minute. Students drag out their bikes, and we're talking everything from rusty beach cruisers to those fancy mountain bikes your rich roommate's parents bought them. Then comes the decorating frenzy. Streamers get wrapped around handlebars like rainbow tornadoes. Balloons tied to seats bob up and down as riders pedal through campus. Some students go completely overboard, turning their bikes into moving art installations with flowers, lights, and even small speakers blasting music. The creativity gets pretty wild. But here's the thing that makes this tradition special. The student body president actually leads this whole parade. Picture the most important student on campus, probably wearing a suit most days, now pedaling at the front of hundreds of decorated bicycles. The parade winds through every corner of campus, past lecture halls, where some poor souls are still cramming for exams. And the best part, it all ends with free ice cream. Not just any ice cream either. We're talking about multiple flavors, unlimited scoops, the works. Faculty members even join in for what they call a slow ride, which is exactly what it sounds like. Professors on bikes, going deliberately slow, probably questioning their life choices, but having fun anyway. Makes you want to transfer there, right? 64. At Beloit College in Wisconsin, students get an official pass to skip everything. Classes, canceled. Homework, forget about it. Professors, they're probably playing frisbee on the quad instead of grading papers. This isn't some elaborate senior prank or protest movement. It's goof-off day, and the administration actually endorses this academic rebellion. Students vote on activities like outdoor concerts, game tournaments, or massive water balloon fights. The whole campus transforms into what feels like summer camp for college kids. But here's what makes it brilliant. Nobody feels guilty about ditching responsibilities because everyone's doing it together. Professors join pickup basketball games. The dean might be spotted attempting to hula hoop. Even the cafeteria staff get creative, serving breakfast for dinner just because they can. The tradition started in the 1980s when students needed a mental health break during the grueling spring semester. Rather than fight it, administrators embraced the chaos. They realized that sometimes the best education happens when you're not trying so hard to get educated. Makes sense, right? 65. Every spring at UC Berkeley, something magical happens. Students grab pillows from their dorms and converge on campus for an epic battle. The whole thing started from a simple social media challenge that went viral. Nobody plans it officially. One person posts pillow fight at 3 p.m., and suddenly hundreds of students show up with feather-filled weapons ready for war. The record stands at 370 pillows in a single fight. That's a lot of down feathers floating through the California air. These battles are intense but brief, usually lasting less than 10 minutes before everyone's exhausted and covered in pillow stuffing. The weird part is how quickly it spreads beyond campus borders into the streets of Berkeley itself. Local residents have learned to expect the chaos. Picture walking to grab coffee and suddenly getting caught in a crossfire of college students wielding pillows like medieval knights. The city doesn't seem to mind, though. After all, there are worse things than a bunch of stressed-out students blowing off steam with something as harmless as a pillow fight, right? 66. Every October at Allegheny College, students gather at the top of a steep hill clutching oversized pumpkins. What happens next? Pure chaos. They release their orange projectiles and watch them tumble, roll, and occasionally explode down the slope. The longest recorded roll stretched an impressive 230 feet. That's nearly the length of a football field. But here's the thing about pumpkin rolling. It's not just about distance. Students develop elaborate strategies. Some choose perfectly round pumpkins for maximum roll potential. Others go for the heaviest ones, betting that weight beats aerodynamics. The smart ones scout the hill beforehand, looking for the smoothest path down. And the weird part is, nobody's quite sure how this tradition started in the 1960s. One theory suggests it began when a dining hall worker accidentally dropped a pumpkin outside. Another claims it started as a physics experiment gone wrong. Regardless of origin, the event has strict rules: no bikes, no cheating, and definitely no following your pumpkin down the hill. After the rolling mayhem ends, students gather the pumpkin remains for a massive carving contest. The combination of competition and autumn festivities creates an atmosphere that's part sporting event, part harvest festival. 67. Every finals week at Reed College, something magical happens. Dogs invade campus. Not stray dogs or wild packs, but therapy dogs with their handlers, ready to provide stress relief to exhausted students. Over 120 different breeds have participated since 1992. There's even a photo booth set up where students can snap pictures with their furry stress busters. The whole thing started when a psychology professor noticed how much calmer students became around animals. Now it's become so popular that handlers have to sign up months in advance. Students literally line up around buildings waiting for their turn to pet a golden retriever or hug a Saint Bernard. The administration loves it because campus counseling appointments drop by 30% during Dog Week. Faculty members often sneak out of meetings just to get some puppy therapy themselves. Well, who wouldn't? 68. Every spring at Humboldt State, students abandon their textbooks for something way more fun. They're hunting pine cones. Not just any pine cones, though. These bad boys are hidden across the entire campus forest by sneaky staff members who probably had way too much coffee that morning. The biggest one ever found weighed 2.4 pounds, basically a wooden bowling ball with spikes. Alumni show up every year to join the madness, proving that some people never really graduate from wanting free stuff. Makes sense, right? 69. Every spring, Johns Hopkins students gather around the campus pond with their homemade cardboard boats. These aren't your typical seaworthy vessels. They're held together with duct tape, hope, and whatever waterproofing tricks desperate engineering students can dream up. The annual cardboard canoe race has been sinking dreams since 1988, and honestly, that's half the fun. The rules are beautifully simple. Build a boat using only cardboard and tape. Make it float long enough to cross the pond. Don't drown in 3 feet of water while hundreds of your classmates cheer for your inevitable failure. Most boats start strong, cutting through the water with surprising grace. Then physics kicks in. Cardboard plus water equals structural disaster, and suddenly you're neck deep in pond water while your masterpiece dissolves around you. But here's the thing about Hopkins students. They're competitive even when they're losing. Teams spend weeks perfecting their designs, testing waterproofing methods, and calculating weight distribution like they're building actual ships. Some go minimalist with sleek kayak designs. Others construct elaborate pirate ships, complete with cardboard cannons. The crowd always goes wild for the sinking vessels, cheering louder for spectacular failures than boring successes. All freshmen must compete, which means September brings nervous energy and secret boat-building sessions in dorm basements. Upperclassmen offer terrible advice and gleefully watch newcomers repeat their same mistakes. The winning boat isn't necessarily the fastest, it's whichever contraption manages to stay afloat longest while its occupant frantically paddles toward the finish line before everything falls apart. 70. Every semester at Harvard, over 1,000 students gather at their dorm windows for something called the primal scream. This isn't some ancient ritual or sophisticated academic tradition. It's literally just screaming as loud as humanly possible into the night air. The whole thing happens at midnight before finals week begins, turning the usually quiet campus into what sounds like a horror movie soundtrack. Students lean out of windows, stand on roofs, and fill courtyards just to let out every ounce of stress they've been bottling up. The tradition started back in the 1970s when some brilliant stressed-out student decided that maybe screaming would help more than another cup of coffee. Turns out they were right. What began as one person's breakdown became Harvard's most cathartic tradition. The scream only lasts a few minutes, but those minutes are pure, unfiltered release. You've got future doctors, lawyers, and world leaders all participating in this beautifully primal moment. No grades matter, no pressure exists, just raw human emotion echoing across one of America's most prestigious campuses. 71. Harvard and Yale students have turned athletic rivalry into edible warfare. During their annual football game, thousands of marshmallows fly through the air like sugary missiles. The tradition creates chaos in the stands as fans dodge incoming projectiles. What started as harmless fun became so intense that administrators banned it entirely. But student pressure proved stronger than administrative rules. The marshmallow fight returned in 2015 with official approval. Now cleanup crews prepare for the aftermath, collecting over a ton of marshmallows after each game. Makes sense, right? 72. Every spring at UC Santa Cruz, something magical happens in the redwood groves. Students transform into garden gnomes. Not metaphorically, literally. They don pointed hats, fake beards, and colorful outfits before sprinting through towering trees like mythical forest creatures come to life. The tradition started in 1995 when graduate students needed stress relief during thesis season. What began as 5 friends goofing around became an institution. Now dozens participate annually, with prizes for the funniest costume and most authentic gnome waddle. The record stands at 78 gnomes in a single run. Picture that chaos, a mob of fake bearded students stumbling through ancient redwoods, some tripping over their oversized hats. The club meticulously records every winner, treating gnome achievements with surprising seriousness. But here's the weird part. Participants must maintain gnome character throughout the entire dash. No breaking, no laughing out of character. Pure gnome commitment as they navigate roots, branches, and fellow garden ornaments gone rogue. The run typically lasts 15 minutes, but preparation takes weeks. Students craft elaborate costumes, practice their gnome walks, and study garden gnome mythology. Because apparently, there's a right way to be a plastic lawn decoration. Campus security learned to expect the annual gnome invasion. Rangers now clear paths and ensure no actual gnomes get mixed up with the human versions. That would be awkward explaining to the landscaping department. 73. Brown University students have turned their historic campus cannon into the ultimate victory canvas. Every time the Bears score a major win in sports, teams of students race to coat the old artillery piece in fresh paint. The tradition started as a rivalry response, but now it's become something bigger. The voting process alone gets heated. Students campaign for their preferred colors like they're running for student government. Blue for basketball victories, maroon for football wins, sometimes wild combinations that make the cannon look like a psychedelic fever dream. The campus green becomes a democracy in action, with heated debates over paint choices. But here's the weird part. The cannon gets completely restored every summer. Maintenance crews strip away months of layered paint, revealing the original bronze underneath. It's like hitting a reset button on student expression. Then September rolls around, and the whole cycle starts again with fresh enthusiasm and buckets of paint. 74. Picture thousands of pounds of sand being dumped onto a college campus nowhere near an ocean. UNC Wilmington students gather every spring with shovels, buckets, and wild ambitions to build the most elaborate sandcastles imaginable. Teams strategize like they're constructing actual fortresses. The biggest castle ever recorded stretched across 120 square feet, basically a sandy mansion that would make any beach architect jealous. But here's the kicker, this isn't just kids playing in dirt. These students treat it like the Olympics of sand sculpture. Engineering majors calculate structural integrity, while art students obsess over decorative details. Faculty members become surprisingly competitive judges, measuring heights with rulers and debating creative merit like they're at the Louvre. The tradition started back in 1987 when someone decided regular campus activities were too boring. Why not bring the beach to the students? Dump trucks now arrive annually, creating temporary beaches in the middle of North Carolina. Winners get actual prizes for categories like tallest tower and most creative design. What makes this whole thing even more ridiculous? The cleanup afterward takes longer than the building. Students spend hours dismantling their masterpieces, knowing full well they'll do it all over again next year. The sand gets recycled for campus landscaping projects, so technically these castles live on in flower beds and walkways around campus. 75. Picture thousands of Louisiana State fans hurling soda cans through the air at halftime. This isn't chaos, it's tradition. The soda toss started as a joke in 1979 when frustrated students began launching their drinks during a particularly boring game. What began as spontaneous rebellion became an organized spectacle. The record stands at 2,500 cans in a single toss, creating a metallic rainbow arcing across Tiger Stadium. Faculty members now join the madness, proving even professors need to blow off steam. Here's the twist though. Every single can gets collected afterward and donated to local homeless shelters. Makes sense, right? The administration initially tried banning the practice, calling it unsportsmanlike conduct. Students simply switched to throwing empty cans, which made even more noise. Eventually, the university embraced the chaos and now provides official collection crews. The event has become so popular that visiting teams often ask when the toss happens so their players can witness the spectacle. Alumni return specifically for games featuring the soda toss, and local news crews regularly film the aerial aluminum show for their sports segments. 76. Students at Virginia Tech have turned lawn chairs into performance art, and honestly, it's brilliant. Every year, hundreds of colorful plastic chairs get linked together across the main quad like some massive outdoor puzzle. The chain snakes around trees, benches, and whatever else gets in the way. Then comes the best part, students actually use them. They sit overnight in this connected web of furniture, turning the whole quad into one giant outdoor living room. The tradition started in 2001 when someone had way too many lawn chairs and not enough storage space. Makes sense, right? But the real magic happens around midnight when the entire chain becomes this weird symbol of campus unity. Everyone's connected, literally, by cheap plastic furniture from Walmart. 77. At Montana State, seniors don't just graduate quietly. They settle scores with paintball guns in the school gym after finals end. 1 hour of pure chaos where future alumni hunt each other down with military precision. The winner gets honored at graduation ceremony like some kind of academic warrior. Last year's battle used 13,000 paintballs, turning the gymnasium into a colorful war zone that janitors probably still curse about. 78. Mississippi State football games sound like a cattle ranch gone wild. Thousands of cowbells clang together, creating the loudest stadium atmosphere in college sports. Students customize their bells with paint, ribbons, and team slogans. The tradition started in 1933, when a Jersey cow wandered onto the field during a game. Now over 9,300 cowbells shake simultaneously, producing decibel levels that rival jet engines. The school's fight song gets drowned out by the metallic symphony. Opposing teams hate the noise, which makes state fans ring even harder. 79 Sarah Lawrence students have turned jumping over a whale statue into their ultimate rite of passage. After finishing their final class, they sprint across campus and leap over this bronze marine mammal like Olympic hurdlers. The best jumper wins a pizza party, which honestly sounds like the perfect reward for academic achievement. Faculty members secretly judge each attempt, probably wondering how whale jumping became a legitimate college tradition. The statue gets decorated with ribbons and flowers before each jumping session, turning it into a celebration centerpiece. Started back in the 1980s, this quirky ritual has survived decades of student generations. Some ambitious jumpers attempt elaborate flips and tricks midair. Others barely clear the whale's tail, but still earn massive cheers from the crowd. 80 When winter hits the University of Colorado Boulder, something magical happens with the first snowfall. Students abandon their textbooks and sprint outside for an epic snowball battle on the main quad. The largest fight recorded involved over 1,500 students hurling snow at each other for 30 minutes straight. Alumni actually visit campus just to join these battles. What started after a massive blizzard in 2006 has become the ultimate stress reliever, turning serious college students into laughing kids again. 81 Every spring at the University of Richmond, something beautifully absurd happens. Professors voluntarily line up to get smacked in the face with pies. Not because they've lost a bet or gone slightly mad from grading papers, they do it for charity. Students pay good money to watch their calculus professor get a whipped cream facial. The whole thing started back in 1997 when someone had the brilliant idea that watching authority figures get messy might raise funds for local food pantries. Turns out, they were absolutely right. The event now pulls in thousands of dollars annually. Makes sense, right? Who wouldn't pay $5 to pie their organic chemistry teacher? But here's the weird part. Professors actually compete to participate. They volunteer months in advance, knowing full well they'll spend their afternoon looking like they face-planted into a bakery. The record stands at 52 pies thrown in a single hour. That's nearly 1 pie per minute of pure charitable chaos. 82 Stevens Institute students don't mess around when it comes to engineering creativity. Every year they build racing carts using nothing but duct tape and whatever materials they can scavenge. The fastest cart usually wins, but sometimes the most ridiculous design steals the show. Picture a shopping cart covered in silver tape racing against a wagon that looks like a spaceship. These aren't your typical soapbox derby cars. The largest derby recorded had 34 entries, which means 34 different interpretations of what makes a vehicle fast. Spectators line the campus paths, cheering for their favorites while faculty members act as official judges. The whole thing raises money for scholarships, so students literally race their way toward helping future classmates afford college. Some carts barely hold together long enough to cross the finish line. Others are so over-engineered they could probably survive a small explosion. But that's the beauty of it. There's no wrong way to build a duct tape derby car, as long as it moves forward and doesn't fall apart completely. 83. Every May at Skidmore College, students gather around what looks like an ordinary campus pond. But there's nothing ordinary about what happens next. The maintenance crew arrives with yellow food dye and transforms the entire pond into a giant pool of lemonade. Local vendors donate actual lemonade concentrate to make it authentic. When the final bell rings on the last day of classes, freshmen get first dibs at jumping in. The tradition started in 2008 when a graduating senior joked that college was so expensive they should at least get to swim in something sweet. Well, the administration took it seriously. Now hundreds of students line up each year, some in full costumes, others just in their regular clothes. The whole thing lasts about an hour before everyone's sticky and laughing. Makes sense, right? After months of stress and exams, who wouldn't want to dive into a pond of artificial sunshine? 84. Every spring at Oberlin College, something magical happens on the main quad. Students grab frisbees, and converge for the largest campus frisbee game you've ever seen. We're talking 800 players at once, all running around like caffeinated squirrels. The chaos is beautiful. Everyone decorates their frisbees beforehand, turning simple plastic discs into works of art. Team colors fly everywhere as students dive and leap for catches. Faculty members secretly practice their throws weeks in advance, hoping not to embarrass themselves in front of their students. The festival has been running since 1979, making it older than most of the participants. What started as a small group of friends tossing discs has evolved into Oberlin's most anticipated spring event. Tournament brackets get filled faster than dining hall pizza disappears. 85. Every semester at Earlham College, something magical happens that would make circus performers jealous. Students grab whatever they can find: oranges, tennis balls, even textbooks, and start juggling across campus. The competition runs all semester long, turning ordinary walkways into impromptu performance spaces. Categories range from solo acts to mind-bending pair routines. Then there's the trick round where faculty members join in, often surprising everyone with hidden talents. Who knew your economics professor could juggle 5 oranges while reciting supply and demand theories? The whole thing started back in 1981 when a math professor decided campus needed more coordination. Makes sense, right? Math and juggling both require precise timing and spatial awareness. But the weird part is how it spread like wildfire through every department. Students practice everywhere, miter in dining halls, during study breaks, even while walking to class. The current record holder managed to keep 5 objects airborne for 12 straight minutes. That's longer than most people can hold a conversation about their weekend plans. What makes this tradition special isn't just the skill involved. It's watching stressed college students find a moment of pure focus. When you're juggling 3 tennis balls, you can't worry about tomorrow's exam or yesterday's awkward conversation. You're completely present, completely in the moment, and honestly, there's something beautifully ridiculous about a campus where seeing someone juggle fire torches near the library is just another Tuesday. 86. Temple University's Sidewalk Chalk Contest turns the entire campus into an outdoor art gallery every spring. Students grab free chalk from administration tables and transform boring concrete walkways into masterpieces. The competition gets fierce. Last year brought in 420 art entries covering every inch of pavement. Winners get their artwork photographed and displayed in campus buildings all year long. What started as an anti-graffiti campaign actually became one of the most creative traditions on campus. Faculty members sometimes join in, though their stick figures rarely compete with student masterpieces. The cleanup crew probably dreads rainy days, but students love walking through this temporary outdoor museum. Makes sense, right? Who needs expensive art supplies when chalk works just fine? 87. Miami University, Ohio has turned pool paddles into parade floats. Every spring, students grab leftover pool equipment and transform it into rolling art pieces. The decorated paddles roll through campus like tiny chariots heading toward the pond. One genius painted theirs to look like a stop sign because apparently even pool accessories need traffic rules. The parade wraps up with an auction where these paddle masterpieces get sold for charity. It's been happening since 1976, proving that college students can make literally anything into a tradition. The winning paddle usually features inside jokes only campus veterans understand. Faculty judges take this surprisingly seriously, debating artistic merit like they're at the Louvre. Then there's the cleanup crew who has to fish soggy paddles out of the pond afterward. 88. Every spring at USC, something magical happens before big games. Students gather with bags full of candy, ready to launch a sugary assault on the crowd below. We're talking 5,000 pieces of candy flying through the air in a single toss. The tradition started back in 1949, and it's still going strong today. Organizers dress up in candy-themed costumes that would make Willy Wonka jealous. Think giant lollipop heads and gummy bear suits. But here's the thing that makes it special. After all that candy rains down, there's an army of volunteers with brooms and dustpans, making sure every wrapper gets picked up. The whole event lasts maybe 10 minutes, but the sugar rush that can power students through an entire football game. 89. Every spring at Rutgers, something magical happens that would make your grandmother proud. Students gather on the campus quad with one simple mission: break the world record for the largest group hug. Not kidding. Over 2,100 students have squeezed together in a massive embrace that probably violated several fire codes. The whole thing started as a morale booster during a particularly brutal finals season. Now it's become this beautiful tradition where strangers become temporary best friends for exactly 30 seconds. The student council organizes the entire spectacle, complete with official counters and photographers capturing every awkward arm placement. And here's the thing that makes it even better. They actually document each attempt in the campus yearbook so future generations can see exactly how their school chose to deal with stress. Sure, other colleges have their fancy traditions with history and prestige, but Rutgers decided that what the world really needed was thousands of college students proving that sometimes the answer to life's problems is just a really, really big hug. 90. Every Thursday night at Portland State, something magical happens in the Student Union building. Students grab microphones, faculty members dust off their singing voices, and the campus transforms into the most inclusive karaoke stage you've ever seen. What started as a small gathering in 2003 has exploded into a weekly tradition that brings together thousands of people who probably shouldn't be singing in public. The live band makes all the difference. These aren't just backing tracks playing through cheap speakers. Real musicians accompany every off-key rendition of Sweet Caroline and every dramatic attempt at Bohemian Rhapsody. The band has learned over 500 songs, ranging from classic rock anthems to the latest pop hits. They've become expert at following along when students forget lyrics or decide to freestyle entirely new verses. Competition gets fierce when prizes are announced. Best student singer and best faculty performer each receive gift cards and campus bragging rights. But here's the twist. Sometimes the worst performances get the loudest applause. Professor Martinez became a campus legend after his painfully sincere version of I Will Always Love You went viral on social media. The marathon record stands at 9 hours straight. That's 9 solid hours of continuous karaoke, with students rotating in shifts and the band somehow maintaining their sanity. The event happened during finals week, because apparently nothing says stress relief like belting out power ballads until sunrise. Some students brought sleeping bags and camped out just to secure their spot in the rotation. Each year brings a different theme chosen by the karaoke club. Past themes included Songs Your Parents Hate, movie soundtracks only, and the infamous death metal lullabies night that nearly got the tradition banned. The current theme rotates monthly, keeping regulars on their toes and forcing everyone to expand their musical horizons whether they want to or not. The real magic isn't in the perfect performances, it's in watching a shy freshman belt out Eye of the Tiger while their dorm mates cheer from the audience. It's seeing the chemistry professor and star quarterback duet on Islands in the Stream. These moments create connections that last far beyond Thursday nights, turning strangers into friends through the universal language of questionable song choices. 91. When most colleges deal with Seattle's infamous rain by complaining, Seattle University students turn it into art. Every spring, hundreds of decorated umbrellas parade through downtown streets in a riot of color and creativity. The sight is genuinely stunning. Over 550 umbrellas have participated in recent years, transforming dreary Pacific Northwest weather into something magical. Students spend weeks crafting elaborate designs, turning ordinary rain gear into masterpieces. Local news crews show up regularly. The whole thing fights winter depression head-on. But here's the beautiful twist. After all that artistic effort, every single umbrella gets donated to homeless shelters. The oldest umbrella they've found dates back to 1939, somehow still functional. Makes you wonder what stories that thing could tell, right? Rain suddenly doesn't seem so bad when it becomes the centerpiece of community art and generosity. 92. Picture this: college students wrestling in a pool filled with chocolate pudding while hundreds cheer from the sidelines. Welcome to Drexel University's most deliciously messy tradition. Every spring, brave volunteers slip into an inflatable arena filled with 600 pounds of pudding donated by local bakeries. The matches last exactly 2 minutes each, which is just enough time for competitors to get completely covered head to toe. What started as a simple fundraiser has grown into one of the most anticipated events on campus. The rules are simple: no eye gouging, no hair pulling, and definitely no eating the pudding during matches. Well, that last rule gets broken pretty regularly. Students sign up weeks in advance, often creating elaborate wrestling personas, complete with costumes and entrance music. The winner gets bragging rights and a trophy shaped like a giant spoon. But here's the beautiful part. While proceeds go directly to campus charity organizations, meaning students literally wrestle in dessert for a good cause. The cleanup crew deserves hazard pay, though. 93. Picture 40 by 60 feet of pure chaos. That's Brandeis University's giant twister mat sprawling across the campus lawn every summer. 320 hands and feet tangling together in what might be the world's most ridiculous display of coordination. Started back in the 1980s, this massive game turns serious college students into giggling pretzels. The rules stay simple. Right hand red, left foot blue, but executing them becomes hilariously impossible when you're surrounded by dozens of other players. What began as a small dorm activity exploded into a campus-wide tradition that draws spectators from across Boston. Students practice yoga all semester just to gain flexibility advantages. The winner? Well, there's rarely just one person left standing when the dust settles. 94. March arrives at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with an unusual twist. Students and faculty suddenly stop shaving their upper lips. Why? It's Mustache March, where everyone competes for the most impressive facial hair. The competition gets serious fast. We're talking about future pilots and engineers here. They approach mustache growing like a science project. Online voting determines the winner, and some participants measure their progress daily. The largest recorded mustache stretched 8 inches wide. That's wider than most textbooks. The whole thing ends with a mustache parade across campus where participants strut their fuzzy achievements like peacocks. This tradition launched in 1997 and shows no signs of slowing down. 95. Every spring at Bates College, something wonderfully absurd happens. Students grab bananas and race through campus like their lives depend on it. The fastest banana carrier wins bragging rights. But here's the twist, all those bananas get donated to the local food bank afterward. Talk about combining charity with chaos. The tradition started back in 1992, and it's only gotten more ridiculous since then. Students compete for the best banana costume too. One year, someone showed up dressed as a giant fruit bowl. The record for the longest banana chain sits at 112 feet. Imagine that snaking across the quad. Faculty members often judge the costume contest, trying to keep straight faces while evaluating banana creativity. The whole event perfectly captures the spirit of college life, slightly silly, surprisingly meaningful, and absolutely unforgettable for everyone involved. 96. Picture this, art students at Clemson University armed with sidewalk chalk, covering every walkway with colorful masterpieces while munching on grilled cheese sandwiches. This bizarre combination started as a fundraiser where hungry students could create art and grab cheap comfort food. The chalk themes change yearly. Sometimes it's campus pride, other times abstract designs that make you tilt your head sideways. But here's the kicker. They once made a 5-foot-long grilled cheese sandwich that required 4 people to carry. The cheese contest gets surprisingly competitive too, with flavors ranging from classic cheddar to experimental combinations that would make Gordon Ramsay either applaud or cry. Students sprawl across concrete like sidewalk Picassos, their masterpieces lasting until the next rainstorm washes everything away. The whole thing feels like kindergarten art class meets college hunger pangs. What started as a simple meal fundraiser has become this wonderfully weird tradition, where creativity and carbs collide in the most delightful way possible. 97. Duke University throws the ultimate stress relief party every finals week, and it involves millions of soap bubbles floating across campus. The Bubble Bash started in 2005 when stressed-out students needed something completely ridiculous to break the tension. Now industrial bubble machines work overtime to create over 1.2 million bubbles during the event. Students show up dressed as superheroes, which makes absolutely no sense but somehow feels perfect. Batman studying organic chemistry, Superman cramming for calculus? Why not? The whole thing happens right after final exams end, so everyone's either celebrating survival or mourning their GPA. Faculty members have been spotted chasing bubbles between the quad trees, probably questioning their life choices. The cleanup crew finds soap residue in the weirdest places for weeks afterward. But here's the thing about bubbles. They pop, disappear, and leave nothing behind except a brief moment of joy. Maybe that's exactly what college students need before facing the real world. 98. Every finals week at the University of Vermont, something magical happens. Ice cream trucks roll onto campus like cavalry arriving to save stressed students. Faculty members trade their lecture notes for ice cream scoops, serving up frozen comfort food. The tradition started back in 1998 when administrators noticed how miserable everyone looked during exam season. Smart move, really. The numbers tell the whole story. Over 6,200 scoops get served during peak finals madness. Students line up between study sessions, some still clutching textbooks while waiting for their sugar fix. The trucks circle the main quad like sharks, except these sharks dispense happiness instead of terror. Faculty take their scooper duties seriously too. But here's the weird part. Miters professors who normally grade papers become surprisingly generous with portion sizes. Maybe it's guilt from assigning brutal exams, or maybe they just remember what it felt like to survive finals week themselves. Either way, students aren't complaining about double scoops from their organic chemistry professor. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Right when caffeine stops working and everyone's running on fumes, boom, free ice cream appears. Some students claim it's better than any study drug. Others swear the sugar rush helped them remember complex formulas. The psychology department probably has theories about this. But who cares about research when there's rocky road involved? What makes this tradition stick around? Simple economics. Happy students perform better on exams. Better exam scores mean higher graduation rates. Higher graduation rates mean more alumni donations. More donations mean the university can afford to keep buying ice cream. It's a beautiful cycle that benefits everyone, especially the taste buds. 99. Students at New York University throw the biggest dance party that spills into the streets of Manhattan. The campus conga line starts small, but grows into a monster chain of nearly 1,700 people snaking through Washington Square Park. Theater students launched this madness back in 1963, and now it ends in Times Square every year. The after-party rivals actual Broadway shows, with students still dancing until sunrise. 100. Every semester at Harvard, something bizarre happens at midnight before finals week. Students throw open their dorm windows and unleash primal screams into the night air. Over 1,000 voices join this chaotic chorus that started back in the 1970s. The tradition supposedly releases all that pent-up academic stress before exams hit. Campus security expects it now, but imagine being a freshman hearing that terrifying wail for the first time. Makes perfect sense, right? 100. 1. Students at the University of Washington have created something truly bizarre. There's an alley wall near campus completely covered in chewed bubblegum. Thousands of colorful wads stuck together like some gross rainbow mosaic. The tradition started back in 1993 when someone decided to leave their ABC gum behind. Now over 150,000 pieces decorate this sticky landmark. The university occasionally pressure washes it clean, but within months, new layers appear. Students treat it like living art, creating patterns and designs with their discarded gum. Some even write messages or stick love notes between the colorful blobs. Makes sense, right? It's cheaper than buying actual art supplies. The wall has become a weird tourist attraction, with visitors from around the world stopping to add their own contribution to this chewy masterpiece.